Picture this. You're sitting down to write a really high-stakes email to your boss.
Oh, we have all been there, the absolute worst.
Right. You are just agonizing over every single adjective, like shifting sentences around. You're trying so desperately to sound smart and persuasive.
And utterly professional, yeah.
Exactly. But what if the secret to making that email truly undeniable is the exact same secret used to write a 3-line poem about a frog jumping into a pond?
I mean, it sounds completely absurd on the surface, doesn't it?
Totally.
We are so conditioned to think of business communication and poetry as, existing in two entirely separate universes.
Yeah, like they have nothing to do with each other.
Right. But the mechanical architecture behind that tiny poem happens to be the exact same architecture behind the most powerful, persuasive prose ever written.
And that is exactly what we are getting into today on this deep dive.
Yes, we are analyzing a really fascinating 2005 article from the journal Yellow Moon 18.
By the poet and writer Alison Williams, it's titled Haiku Lessons.
It's a great piece. Williams spent a significant portion of her career exploring the deep mechanics of poetry, and she brings this remarkably sharp analytical eye to a literary form that is, honestly, almost universally misunderstood in Western culture.
Completely misunderstood. And just to set the mission for our deep dive today, we are not here to teach you how to write a cute little poem for a middle school English project.
Definitely not.
We are looking at how the humble haiku actually contains the fundamental DNA of all effective communication.
Whether you are drafting a massive corporate proposal, delivering a wedding toast, or, writing a novel.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this.
We really have to start by looking at how society generally treats haiku, because Williams addresses this misconception right out of the gate.
Yeah, she doesn't hold back.
Not at all. For most of us, our only exposure to haiku is that rigid syllable counting exercise we did as children.
Right, the 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables thing.
Exactly. We treat it as this trivial structural game designed to force kids to look at a tree for 10 seconds.
We really do. We view it as a juvenile starting point, before moving on to quote-unquote real writing.
Yeah, like it's training wheels.
Right. But Williams introduces a completely different framework here, using ancient alchemy.
Oh, I love this part.
It's so good. She compares haiku to prima materia.
Which, in alchemical texts, was the original, formless, pure substance out of which absolutely everything else in the universe was created.
Exactly. It was the essential, base ingredient you needed if you wanted to synthesize the philosopher's stone.
And the defining characteristic of prima materia in those texts is that it's so basic and outwardly so unassuming that everyday people literally walk right past it without a second glance.
They don't even see it.
Right. Only a master alchemist actually recognizes its latent transformative power.
It makes me think of an amateur chef walking into a kitchen.
Okay.
And they're planning to bake this massive, intricate 5-tier wedding cake.
The whole 9 yards.
Right. And they look around and they see this humble, dusty bag of raw flour sitting on the counter. And they just toss it in the trash because it doesn't look anything like a finished cake.
Oh, that's such a perfect analogy.
Right. They throw away the fundamental ingredient required to build the very thing they want to create.
And that is exactly how most writers treat haiku.
Totally.
What's fascinating here is how our brains routinely confuse simplicity with a lack of depth.
Yes, we do that all the time.
Because haikus are outwardly brief, and lack complex vocabulary, we just automatically assume they lack sophistication.
Which is so wrong.
Completely. Williams argues that the masters of this form use that apparent simplicity as a scalpel.
Scalpel, yeah?
They use it to cut away the noise and touch the very essence of human experience. Haiku is not some lesser beginner form of poetry.
Yeah.
It is the raw, concentrated extract of what makes any piece of writing actually work on a psychological level.
Okay, so if haiku is this raw, pure material, we really need to understand how practicing it actually trains a writer.
Right, getting down to the mechanics.
Yeah, because Williams lays out a clear progression of skills here, starting with what she calls the brutal mechanics of subtraction.
It is brutal. It's an exercise in ruthless concision and precision.
But wait, if I only have to write 3 lines, isn't that just less work than writing a whole paragraph?
I mean, you would think so, right?
Yeah, why is that a valuable lesson? It seems easier.
That assumption is the exact trap that keeps novice writers from improving.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Writing a 10-page essay gives you endless places to hide.
Oh, I see what you mean.
If you are writing a long, sprawling piece of prose, you can bury a clumsy metaphor or, rely on a weak verb.
Or include a totally redundant paragraph.
Exactly, and the reader might just skim past it and still absorb your general point. Prose offers camouflage.
Camouflage, right. That makes sense.
But in a haiku, you are completely exposed to the elements. There's nowhere to hide.
Nowhere at all.
Williams points out that haiku forces a writer to hone their editing skills to an agonizing degree.
Because you literally can't waste a single syllable.
Right. It is an exercise in paring down a thought, cutting back to the absolute essentials, and leaving absolutely nothing else to distract the eye.
Let's test that against a real-world scenario.
Okay, let's do it.
Imagine a standard corporate email, right? I am writing to inform you that due to unexpected synergistic delays in the supply chain pipeline, we will be indefinitely postponing the Q3 product launch until further notice.
I think I've received that exact email before.
We all have. It sounds professional, but it is entirely full of hiding places.
So many hiding places.
Right. So if we apply the haiku subtraction method, we strip away the camouflage. We cut, I am writing to inform you that, because the act of sending the email proves you are writing.
Exactly.
We cut synergistic delays in the supply chain pipeline because it's meaningless corporate padding.
Total slough.
And we are left with the underlying truth.
Which is just the Q3 launch is delayed.
Exactly.
By removing that structural fluff, you uncover the load-bearing beams of your message.
The load-bearing beams. I like that.
And when you only have a handful of words to work with, every single one must be selected for exact, specific meaning.
Because there's no room for error.
None. A single word must convey the image clearly, establish the tone immediately, and carry the appropriate rhythm when read aloud.
To illustrate this kind of architectural precision, Williams provides a beautiful translation from the Japanese master poet Busan.
Oh, this is a great example.
It reads, "Evening wind. Water laps the heron's legs."
Yeah, just look at the sheer density of information packed into those 8 words.
It's incredible.
It really is. Evening wind instantly establishes the time of day, the dropping temperature, and the physical sensation of moving air.
Just from 2 words.
Right. And then water laps provides an auditory cue. It establishes the gentle rhythmic motion of the tide.
And then the heron's legs provides this incredibly specific, delicate visual focus point.
There is no philosophical rambling here about the passage of time or the majesty of nature.
Not at all.
The poet selects the precise words needed to transport the reader's brain directly to the edge of the water.
Every single word in that line is load-bearing. I mean, if you remove the word lapse or the word heron, the entire bridge collapses into the water.
It completely falls apart.
But this raises a massive mechanical question for me.
What's that?
We have these perfectly engineered words, right?
Yeah.
But we have completely stripped away all the adjectives, all the context, and all the explanation.
Right, all the normal guideposts.
Yeah. So how is a reader actually supposed to know what to feel? You've taken away all the instructions.
Well, that tension is the core of Williams' thesis. It is the absolute magic trick of the form. Haiku is the poetry of the unsaid.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yes, it does.
Williams points out that haiku relies heavily on a psychological tool called juxtaposition.
Exactly.
A haiku writer takes 2 completely distinct images and places them side by side.
But they don't offer any direct comparison.
Right. They don't use the words like or as to guide you.
No. They simply place the images next to each other, often separated by a hard break in the syntax, like a dash or a colon.
And placing those disparate images together forces the human brain to act.
It really does. The writer refuses to hand you the meaning on a silver platter.
Yeah, they hand you 2 raw elements and demand that your subconscious mind bridge the gap between them.
I love how you phrase that.
Thanks. It feels like the exact mechanics of building a fire in the wilderness, you know?
Oh, say more about that.
Well, juxtaposition is the writer handing you 2 pieces of raw flintstone. The writer is not providing the fire itself.
They aren't telling you what to feel or what to think.
Exactly. They aren't telling you how to react to the scene. They just provide the stones, and they trust that you, the reader, will strike them together to create the spark inside your own mind.
That is a fantastic way to look at it, and Williams uses a great quote to demonstrate how that spark actually manifests.
Oh, the tree one, right.
Yes. The translation reads, "Felling a tree and seeing the cut end to night's moon."
Wow. Notice what the poet deliberately refused to do in those lines.
It's so restrained.
Right. They didn't write, I cut down a tree, and the smooth, round, pale wood of the stump reminded me of the full moon, filling me with a profound sense of loss, but also cosmic beauty.
If they had written that, they would have completely extinguished the spark.
The fire would be out before it started.
Exactly. The lesson here goes far beyond that old, tired writing advice of show, don't tell.
Right. We hear show don't tell constantly in creative workshops.
Constantly. But Haiku reveals the actual cognitive psychology behind why that rule exists in the first place.
Because when you tell a reader what to feel, they become a passive hostage to your lecture.
A passive hostage, exactly. Their brain doesn't have to do any analytical work.
And so the emotion simply doesn't stick.
But when you juxtapose the physical, violent action of felling a tree and staring at the raw stump with the sudden, quiet appearance of tonight's moon.
Your brain just rushes in to close the gap.
Yes. Our brains are pattern recognition machines. We crave cognitive closure.
We do. We independently connect the pale, round stump on the ground with the pale, round moon in the sky.
And we feel that sudden, shocking emptiness where the canopy used to be and the vast visibility of the sky above.
And the emotion feels incredibly potent because it feels like it was our own idea.
Precisely. Because the reader had to co-author the experience by striking those Flintstones together, the resulting feeling is infinitely more persuasive.
That's so powerful. Haiku rarely, if ever, declares an emotion explicitly.
Almost never. It implies a deep emotional tone by drawing an unspoken parallel between the external physical world and an internal psychological state.
Williams actually offers another striking example of this unspoken emotional parallel.
Oh, the autumn one.
Yes. A crow has settled on a bare branch autumn evening.
You know, you do not see the words loneliness or isolation or the chilling approach of winter anywhere in that text.
Nowhere.
Yet the feeling is heavy and unmistakable. The solitary black bird resting on a dead branch perfectly mirrors the internal sensation of a cold, fading season.
So good.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what Williams is really teaching us here is the vital lesson of trusting your reader.
Trusting them, yeah.
Whether you are writing a haiku, drafting a persuasive speech, or sending a memo proposing a new marketing strategy, you do not need to exhaustively explain every single point.
You don't need to bludgeon your audience with your conclusions.
Exactly. When you over-explain every detail, you leave zero room for discovery. You treat the audience like an empty receptacle rather than an active, intelligent participant.
And people hate that.
They do. Haiku trains you to step back. When an audience has to make the final connection themselves, the insight they gain feels earned.
Because they did the work.
Right. It integrates into their own thinking far more deeply than if you had simply dictated the answer to them from a podium.
Okay, but for those Flintstones to actually create a spark, the stones themselves have to be solid.
What do you mean?
Like, they have to be tangible. You cannot just juxtapose two vague, floating ideas and expect a fire to start in the reader's mind.
Ah, yes. This is where Williams issues a stark, uncompromising warning to writers.
She gets pretty intense here.
He does. She explicitly states that relying on generalities and abstract concepts is the absolute fastest way to earn a rejection slip from an editor.
Right. She is targeting those big, heavy capital letter words that writers love to lean on.
The ones that sound important.
Exactly. Words like love, sorrow, beauty, freedom, and loneliness.
Haiku outright rejects those words because they are fundamentally formless.
They don't give you anything to hold on to.
Right. Haiku demands the real and the highly specific. It must be entirely grounded in the physical world.
Yeah, Williams argues that you shouldn't even write about a generic concept like flowers.
No, that's too broad.
You need to write about this specific daisy, right here on the edge of the lawn, with a torn petal and the morning dew still clinging to the stem.
And to harvest those incredibly specific images, Williams says a writer must rely relentlessly on their physical senses.
You really have to cultivate an intense, active awareness of your environment.
She actually lists the kinds of sensory triggers that penetrate a reader's mind.
Like a boat slowly emerging from a dense mist.
Or the sudden sound of birdsong in a quiet forest.
The rough scratching texture of tree bark under your palm.
The heavy smell and taste of freshly baked bread.
It forces the writer to move out of their intellectual, theorizing brain and into their physical body.
Which changes everything. When you anchor your writing and directly experience tactile sensations, it immediately grants your work a gripping immediacy.
An immediacy that philosophical abstractions can never achieve.
Never.
There is one haiku she quotes that illustrates this grounding better than anything else in the article.
Oh, I know which one you're going to say.
It's so visceral. It reads, In the fish shop, the gums of the salt bream look cold.
The specificity of that image is almost jarring.
It really is. I mean, nobody writes about the gums of a dead fish unless they're actually standing inside a freezing wet fish market.
Staring incredibly closely at the ice.
Yes, that observation does not come from sitting in a comfortable, warm study theorizing about the nature of the ocean.
No, it comes from relentless, uncomfortable looking.
Uncomfortable looking, wow.
And Williams notes that committing to this kind of hyper-observational writing actually physically alters how you interact with the world.
It changes your brain.
It engages the brain's filtering mechanisms. Newcomers to haiku frequently report that within weeks of starting the practice, they begin noticing microscopic details in their daily environment that they had completely tuned out for years.
Their baseline observation skills become razor sharp.
It turns a mundane, repetitive walk to the grocery store into an active, engaging treasure hunt for physical details.
But there is another crucial layer to this grounding in the real, isn't there? Williams explains that this sensory focus creates an invisible bridge called common experience.
And common experience is the absolute bedrock of all effective communication.
Because it's what we all share.
Exactly. Williams argues that you can only connect with an audience if you build your message on a shared foundation of reality.
I mean, if I draft a highly academic essay packed with complex, hyper-intellectual jargon,
You might impress a few people.
right, a tiny handful of professors who operate in my specific field, but I am going to completely alienate everyone else because we do not share that narrow theoretical vocabulary.
Haiku completely circumvents that problem by focusing on everyday, mundane realities using straightforward language.
Like the fish market.
Exactly. When you write about the chilling cold of a fish market, the wind hitting your face on an autumn evening, or the smell of bread, you are bypassing intellectual filters.
Tapping directly into a universal human database of experience.
Audiences who are exhausted by corporate speak and dense jargon will instantly lean into writing that speaks to the shared physical reality of simply being alive.
She provides a final quote in this section that captures that shared, unpretentious humanity perfectly.
I love this one.
The man pulling radishes pointed my way with a radish.
It is incredibly grounded.
So simple.
Almost anyone can picture that slightly absurd, entirely mundane moment of human interaction. By rooting the poem in that shared common ground, the writer instantly demolishes the wall between themselves and the reader.
Well, we have explored the technical mechanics of subtraction, the psychological power of juxtaposition, and the grounding force of sensory observation.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But, as Williams concludes her article, she shifts from the text on the page to the actual cultural and personal practice of haiku.
She starts with a necessary reality check for anyone hoping to monetize this new skill, though.
Yeah, she is very blunt about that.
She advises writers to be prepared to learn humility, noting that there is no such thing as a rich and famous haiku poet.
It's so true. You are not going to make the Forbes list by writing 17 syllables about a root vegetable.
No, you definitely are not.
You do not adopt this practice for ego, prestige, or financial glory. You do it for the intrinsic value of the training.
But Williams emphasizes that this training is not supposed to be an isolating, lonely endeavor.
Right, which surprised me.
Historically, haiku has an incredibly rich tradition as a communal social activity.
Yes. She highlights two specific practices. There's renku, which involves collaborative, linked verse writing sessions among a group.
And ginkgo, which are essentially haiku walks where writers venture out into nature together to observe their surroundings and draft poems in real time.
This is where the training wheels come off.
Totally. You aren't just sitting in a dark room agonizing over syllables in isolation.
You are out in the world, generating material, and immediately testing it on real people.
And the mechanism of that social feedback loop is what drastically improves a writer's clarity.
How so?
Well, when you participate in a ginkgo, you observe a scene alongside your peers, you write your haiku, and you instantly see how the group reacts to it.
Oh, I see.
If you write your 3 lines about a heron in the water, and the group looks utterly confused, you immediately know your Flintstones failed to spark.
And you don't get to hand out a 10-page appendix defending what you meant to say.
Or explaining your deep hidden metaphors.
No. You just
Yeah.
have to write a better, clearer poem.
It provides an instant, inescapable feedback loop that trains you to constantly calibrate your words against how a real audience actually perceives them.
Sharing your observations allows you to see the world through the varied perspectives of your peers, too. It forces you out of your own narrow default viewpoint.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? For you, listening to this deep dive right now, staring down that blank email draft or trying to outline that presentation deck,
Right, how do you use this?
William's ultimate proposition is that you try adopting the haiku mindset.
Not because you want to pivot to a career in Japanese poetry.
God, no.
Yeah.
But because this incredibly constrained, hyper-observant form is the prima materia of all communication.
It really is. By forcing yourself to strip away the protective camouflage of long prose, trusting your audience to connect the dots, and grounding your arguments in shared, tangible reality, you elevate every single thing you write.
It is fundamentally a masterclass in clarity.
And we live in an era where we are constantly drowning in vague, bloated, and meaningless text.
Well, absolutely drowning in it.
So clarity has become an incredibly rare and immensely powerful commodity.
Which leaves us with a provocative question for you to mull over today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have focused entirely on how the haiku mindset forces you to strip away the unnecessary to reveal the raw essence of an experience when you are creating content.
Right, when you are the one writing.
But consider the sheer volume of information you consume every single day, the endless scrolling, the push notifications, the overwhelming flood of digital noise.
It's a lot.
It's a ton. So if you were to turn this rigorous haiku filter around, actively cutting away the superfluous, ignoring the abstract noise, and paying attention only to what is specific, real, and resonant, how might that change not just how you write, but how you mentally process and navigate your life in the digital age?